Kyle Larson trying to join the legends of NASCAR.
It's June 26, 2021, and Kyle Larson is about to do something that only a handful of legends have ever done. Once he wins this race, he will have won 4 points-paying races in a row. Unfortunately, due to the title of this episode, we already know that he is not going to be in victory lane.
Only 8 before him have ever won 4.
Oh, he's got a flat tire. The left front tire's flat.
It's down. He's going to go into the wall. Kyle Larson in the wall. The 48 of Bowman's going to get by him. A flat tire for Kyle Larson. And now Alex Bowman is going to win at Pocono.
Unbelievable. Alex Bowman was able to pull off another shocker for the number 48 team with his 3rd win of the season due to Kyle Larson's terrible luck on the last lap, making it one of the most bitter defeats for a driver in recent memory. This got us thinking, what are some other worse ways to lose a race on the last lap in NASCAR? Well, today we are going to go through that. I'm Vanilla Wafers with NASCARFieldFiller.com, and this is the 10 worst defeats in NASCAR history. Number 10, teammate betrayal, Kyle Busch in 2016. Let's start off with being screwed over by your own partner. Carl Edwards decided to make the jump to Roush Racing to Joe Gibbs Racing in 2015. The only issue was that Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards have had their fair shares of tangles in the past. It was only a matter of time before something was going to happen as teammates, and it would happen in the 2016 race at Richmond.
Ahead, Kyle Busch the leader.
Look at this.
Carl
look at
Edwards
this,
right
look
there.
At this.
Moves
Wow.
him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Oh, God. How did he pull that off?
That's a teammate.
Oh, my
Yikes.
goodness.
On the last turn, Edwards decided to give his own teammate the bump and run on the final turn, thus giving him the victory that weekend. Kyle Busch was obviously upset at the ordeal, as he would finish second that day to his one teammate that he was rivals with for the last 8 years. Hey, way to ruffle some feathers before you left, Edwards. Number 9, the bump and run, Dale Earnhardt in 2000. Dale Earnhardt was notorious for his aggressive driving, hence the name Intimidator. It was only a matter of time before someone would give him a taste of his own medicine. No one would have guessed, though, that the young Jerry Mayfield in the number 12 Penske machine would be the one to do so. Earnhardt was near the end of his career and was looking to score what would have been his 76th career win. Unfortunately for him, the driver behind him wasn't going to settle for just second place.
He made a move on the outside there.
Mayfield going for his 2nd career win at Pocono. He nudges him out of the way. Earnhardt goes high. Mayfield is going to win here at Pocono. Oh my! Dale Earnhardt gets rooted out of the way. Jeremy Mayfield waves out of the window. And Mayfield on the final turn of the final lap pushes Earnhardt aside and grabs the win in the Pocono 500.
This would be Jerry Mayfield's 2nd win of the season, and one that rubbed a lot of veterans the wrong way, especially Dale Earnhardt. Jerry Mayfield would go on to say that he just wanted to rattle his cage and get the victory, basically admitting that he intentionally bumped into the 50-year-old future Hall of Famer. Luckily for us NASCAR fans, though, Jerry Mayfield would remain quiet in the sport thereafter and would never be mixed in controversy again. Number 8, car given up on the last lap, Jeff Gordon in 1998. Jeff Gordon's 1998 season was already talked about in the last episode as one of the most dominant years in NASCAR. One thing that was not mentioned was another driver who had a dominant year that season was Mark Martin. Mark Martin had a phenomenal year in 1998. The only problem was he was always chasing the Rainbow Warrior team. In the All-Star race, Jeff Gordon's team decided to run an older car for the All-Star event. The car was super fast all weekend, and it looked like Jeff Gordon was going to win another big event, until the car decided to give up on the last lap.
If I can't catch Jeff, I'd better get more money here.
Mark Martin put 2 wheels below the white line there to get under Bobby Labonte and take over 2nd spot. What a drive. Jeff Gordon has it.
Jeff Gordon has broken on the white flag lap. Jeff Gordon has broken on the white flag lap. They are racing for the win here in the Winston. They're racing for the win in the Winston. Mark Martin leads. Bobby Labonte is 2nd. They are coming to the checkered flag.
Eli, I told you they were catching him. I noticed it. All of a sudden, Jeff Gordon was off.
Maybe the engine miss he talked about earlier has struck. Mark Martin wins his 1st career Winston.
Mark Martin would win his first Winston All-Star race, one of the few races that happened to fall into his favor. He would collect the $1 million while the young Jeff Gordon would not be able to finish the race under power, making it one of Jeff Gordon's worst defeats in his career. Number 7, overshooting the last corner, Jimmy Johnson in 2018. NASCAR announced that the Charlotte Fall race would be run on the inner road course of the track starting in 2018. There was a lot of hype for this race as well as anticipation on who was going to win the inaugural event. The race was already chaotic enough with all its twists and turns, however it was the finish that most people remember. While everyone was battling for position to try to make it into the next round of the playoffs, it was by 1 point to Kyle Larson, whose car looked like a demolition derby at the finish. I mean, look at this thing, it's horrible. This would give Ryan Blaney the inaugural win at the Charlotte Roval and eliminate the 7-time champion who never was able to get even close to victory again in his career. Number 6, not getting a caution, Mark Martin in 2007. I like Mark Martin, and there are many people who at the very least are happy when he wins the race. Mark Martin was starting the season with a brand new team, Gin Racing, after announcing that he would no longer run full-time in the Cup Series after the 2006 season. Bullshit. The 2007 Daytona 500 was one that a lot of people still remember to this day due to it having one of the most thrilling finishes in NASCAR. On the final lap, it looked to be Mark Martin's chance to finally grab his first Daytona 500 victory. But on the final turn, NASCAR would decide not to throw the caution after this wild finish.
Harvick's getting a run off turn 4. It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line.
Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag. Kevin Harvick wins the Daytona 500.
We got one car on his roof coming across the start-finish line.
They're wrecking everywhere.
Kevin Harvick was able to pull his first and only Daytona 500 victory that day in the number 29 Richard Childress racing machine, just by a nose over the part-timer Mark Martin. If the caution would have came out when the wreck started happening, Mark Martin would have been sitting in victory lane rather than Harvick. Sadly, this would be the closest that Martin would ever be to winning the Great American Race, thus cementing his name in NASCAR as the bridesmaid. Number 5, car getting stalled 100 yards away, Richard Petty, 1976. A Daytona 500 that is sometimes forgotten. In 1976, the world was treated to one of the best finishes between two legends in the sport, David Pearson and Richard Petty. These two would duke it out plenty of times throughout their career, however there was no event that was more rewarding and defeating than the 1976 Daytona 500. On the final lap of the race, it came down to the 21 and 43 car as Benny Parsons was way too far back to be considered a factor. On the last turn, neither driver wanted to give the other one the upper edge, leading to a thriller of a finish.
And Pearson go high. Pearson now has the lead. Petty tries to go back down on the inside as they come out of the 4th turn. They only have about 750 yards to go. Oh! It's a down straightaway. They did hit. Petty smashes into the wall. Will he come across the start-finish line? He's going to win the race. He's going to win it spinning as he, I believe, will take the checkered flag. No, he did not make it. He is less than 100 yards from it. Here comes Pearson. Pearson is going to try to make it across the finish line. Petty has his car going. Pearson's going to win it. Oh, gosh, Manuel, he wins the race. What a finish for a Boston race. I've never seen anything like that. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable because here is Richard Petty, not more than maybe 150 feet.
Richard Petty was only 100 yards away from what would have been his 6th Daytona 500 victory when his car decided to stall out after hitting the wall. Unfortunately for him, Pearson was able to get going before his team would be able to push his car past the finish line, which is already a penalty in itself, making the damaged number 21 car victorious and the damaged number 43 car a hunk of metal just a few meters away from greatness. Number 4, running over debris, Dale Earnhardt, 1990. Dale Earnhardt makes a second appearance on this list, however this one stung way more than the race at Pocono. Dale Earnhardt was trying for years to win the Daytona 500 before this, however it seemed like luck was always against him at this race. 1990 started to show us how unlucky he was at the Great American Race when everyone thought he was finally going to win the Daytona 500. On the final lap, it looked like he was going to be able to hold off the underdog Derek Cope in the number 10 machine to finally win the big race. However, his car would mysteriously veer right on the last lap.
Cope down on the inside. Earnhardt has problems.
Slopping back. Something is amiss. Here comes the field driving for the finish. And on the outside, it is car number 10, Derek Cope. Something amiss on the Earnhardt car. Coming to the line. It's Labonte pulling up, and an amazing finish. The Whitcomb Racing Team has won it.
Unbelievable.
Turns out what happened was Dale Earnhardt ran over some debris on the back straightaway, causing his tire to go flat, thus ending his chances winning the Great American Race, giving it to the Whitcomb team and Derek Cope. Dale Earnhardt would be able to finally win the Daytona 500 in 1998 after 20 years of trying. Luckily, he was able to pull off this victory before his tragic passing in 2001. Number 3, by Joey Logano. Denny Hamlin, 2013. It seems like in recent years, the most disliked driver on the racetrack has been Joey Logano. Now, I've met Joey Logano personally, and he actually seems like a really cool guy off the racetrack. But on the track, his racing style is very dirty. Logano was starting with his new team, Roger Penske, in the number 22 car in 2013, when he was spun out by Denny Hamlin in the spring Bristol race. Logano was having enough of drivers pushing him around, so he decided to confront Denny Hamlin while he was still in the car after the race, saying, "I'm coming for you." It wouldn't be a week later when he decided to go through with his threat at Auto Club Speedway. On the final lap, it would be between Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano for the victory at California. It was apparent that the anger between the two was still high as they were bumping and banging down the back straightaway.
He's looking.
Hamlin edges ahead. They touch! They touch, and here comes Kyle. Logano on the wall. Hamlin spins down the racetrack, and Kyle Busch wins in California.
I thought they'd be nice to each other. They weren't.
Neither driver would win that day. Instead, it was Kyle Busch who was sitting in the third position waiting for an opportunity to pass the two as they were fighting with each other in the last corner. In the end, Joey Logano would get a wrecked race car and an ass kicking from Tony Stewart, and Denny Hamlin would get a broken back from the incident due to hitting head on into the inside wall, causing him to be sidelined for multiple weeks. Losing a race to your rival's one thing, but losing part of your season because of it? Now that's just cold-blooded. Luckily for us, these drivers became best friends afterwards, and they never got into a confrontation ever again. Number 2, Kerr sponsorship, Dale Jr. in 2011. Now this one might sound a little bit silly, but after hearing this last lap drama, you might reconsider. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is one of the most loved drivers in NASCAR. In 2008, Dale Jr. decided to make the move to the dominant Rick Hendrick Motorsports. In 2011, however, Jr. was in the middle of one of the worst droughts in his NASCAR career, having his last victory be all the way back in Michigan of 2008. That's more than 100 races. However, it seemed like Dale Jr. was finally going to break the drought at the 2011 Coca-Cola 600 on a fuel mileage run. Everyone was running on fumes, and it was unclear who was going to make it and who would be short. On the last lap, however, it was apparent that Jr. was not going to have enough fuel.
Topsy-turvy finish to the Coca-Cola 600.
And Dale Jr. is scooting away. Uh-oh, he's slowing, isn't he?
150,000 people on their feet.
Jr. is slowing. He's out of fuel. He's out of gas.
And as at Indy, the leader at turn 4 does not get to the flag. Perfect. The closer wins it.
Once again, where did he come from?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran out of fuel on the last lap, resulting in another bitter defeat for Junior Nason and a big win for Mr. Where Did He Come From? Kevin Harvick. Damn, Harvick won 2 Crown Jewel events due to others' bad luck. Good for him, I suppose. Now, the reason why I said that this was due to a Kerr sponsorship is Junior's sponsor that day was the National Guard. If we go back a few hours that same day to the Indianapolis 500 that year, J.R. Hildebrand was leading on the final lap of the Indy 500, the biggest race in America. It looks like he was going to have it in the bag for National Guard. However...
That is unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
Leading on the last lap of the last turn in both races and both resulting in heartbreaking losses, imagine being the marketing crew for National Guard. They had to be shitting bricks after watching these two races on that Memorial Day weekend. Lesson learned, ladies and gentlemen, don't ever have the National Guard as your sponsor in important ass races, period. And number one, wrecking in front of the whole country, Donnie Allison and Cale Yarborough in 1979. It's one of the most important races in NASCAR history, and it provided us with one of the biggest defeats on the last lap. The 1979 Daytona 500 would be the first televised Daytona 500 race from flag to flag. Due to the severe weather throughout the entire country, many people were stuck at home watching the Daytona race. On the last lap, they were in for a real treat, as Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison were battling out for the victory. What would unfold would be some of the biggest moments in NASCAR.
He comes to the inside. Donnie Allison throws the block. Cale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They hit again. They climb in the turn. They're hitting the wall. They're head on the wall. They slide down to the inside. Let's watch those third place cars. They're out of it. Who is going to win it? Coming down. Third place. They're coming around for the finish. Between A.J. Foyt and Richard Petty. Coming down, Richard Petty is now pulling out in front. Darrell Waltrip is in second. A.J. Foyt is in third. Here they come. Waltrip trying to slingshot. Petty is out in front at the line. Waltrip to the inside. Petty wins it.
Both drivers would take each other out on the final lap of the race, giving the win to the third place car of Richard Petty. This would be Petty's sixth win in the Daytona 500, making up for that bitter loss that he had in the 1976 Daytona 500. Both drivers were upset about the defeat, and once Donnie Allison's brother Bobby came over to share his displeasure with Cale Yarborough's driving, that's when this exciting finish went to the next level for the fans.
And there's a fight between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison. The tempers overflowing. They're angry. They know they have lost. And what a bitter defeat.
Both the Allison brothers and Cale Yarborough went into a fist fight in the infield, causing everyone to stay glued to the action. This would be known as one of the most important moments in NASCAR history, as well as one of the biggest defeats for two drivers on the last lap. And that is all for today's episode. Was there any races that we left out? Make sure to let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. My name is Vanilla Wafers with NASCARFieldFiller.com. Thank you so much for listening to the best and trying out all the rest. And until next time, you all take care.